Welcome to another special playoff edition of the Fearless Football Forecast. Jim, last week we had 3 teams qualify for the playoffs. This week, all 3 are still rolling. They're all on the road this week, which adds a different element to things for sure.
Yeah, and all seemed to win pretty convincingly last week also.
Yeah. So they're off. They got momentum. Pitt County teams certainly have momentum. So this week looks like some tougher opponents.
Oh, yeah.
So it's an interesting matchup here. There's 3 games, as I said. Jim starts us off. North Pitt travels to an undefeated Northside team.
Yeah, North Pitt's been kind of a feel-good story around here this year. 8-4 at this point. And now they got to go on the road, play an undefeated Northside team in Jacksonville, who finished second in the 2A poll at the end of the regular season.
Yeah.
North Pitt's been rolling, behind Brian Staten, and they're putting up a lot of yards. But I think they're probably going to face their toughest test of the season, or I guess Tarborough's up there too.
Yeah,
but
sure.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right up there with one of the top 2 or 3 teams they'll face this year in Northside.
Definitely. All right, who's your pick in that one?
This is tough. I hate to pick against the Panthers, but I think I got to go with Northside here. They're undefeated, and the fact that they're playing at home, I think, is a big help, especially at this point in the playoffs. I'm gonna give the edge to Northside, but I think North Pitt keeps this competitive.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Northside as well. I think of our 3 local teams, North Pitt has the toughest task of traveling to Northside. You did bring up a good point that they hung with Tarboro. North Pitt definitely hung with Tarboro. Tarboro and Northside are probably on the same level, at least close. So I think the Panthers, I think they can play well, but I think they don't. Northside's too much for them. As tough as it is for a good North Pitt team. The next game here, D.H. Conley travels to Cleveland. I covered Conley last week. That's a team that's rolling, just like North Pitt. I mean, the interesting thing about this game is Conley beat Triton last week rather easily. Cleveland and Triton are in the same conference. Triton actually won the conference. So Cleveland, you would think theoretically would be a similar team to Triton. That's got to bode well for the Vikings. But at the same time, it's a different game. Conley jumped out to a huge lead last week. They had momentum going. Things could be different this week. Conley has to show up, obviously, at this point in the season, this point in the playoffs. But you could see a similar game possibly unfold in that game. My pick there, I'm going to go with the Vikings based on basically what I just said. I think we're looking at a similar situation of last week where Conley's record is obviously kind of skewed given their situation. I think these schools, Cleveland and Triton, their record's kind of skewed too because maybe they haven't played the best competition in the world, the best teams out there. I think this game's closer, but I'm going with Conley for my pick there.
I think I'm going to go with Conley too. We're talking about an 8-4 team that if you don't take those 2 games, they had to forfeit. The wins they had to forfeit away. They're a 10-2 team. Conley's an A seed. Cleveland's a 5th seed. You kind of wonder how those seeds would have panned out if Conley would have finished with a 9-win regular season.
Yeah.
They're 2 losses to a great Havelock team and a really good Washington team. And that Washington loss came in the midst of all this chaos with losing Gorham. So I just think Conley's a lot better than an A seed. I know you agree.
Yeah.
Playing against a 5th seed, even though it's another long road trip, I think you got to give the Vikings the edge right now, especially coming off the performance they had last week.
Yeah, that was a huge, impressive win last week, no doubt.
And lots of weapons, too. Not to keep talking about that Conley team has got.
Yeah.
Even without Gorham, they got tons of weapons. When you got the running back stable that they have, and then you got a quarterback that can make plays, it's just a dangerous combination.
And the one thing we didn't even mention is they shut out Triton last week. Their defense was in the backfield the whole game. So that's a really well put together team right now, and they're playing really well. Last game here, Aiden Grifton getting hot again. It seems like they're traveling to a Southwest Onslow team, and it seems like these teams always face each other in the postseason. This is a common game this time of year.
It typically is in the 3rd round. Last couple of years, now it's in the 2nd round. You're dealing with the number 1 seed in Southwest Onslow against number 4 in the Chargers. The Chargers only lost to North Pitt, right? That's a team that's really no, you got the 2. Goldsboro. Never lost to Goldsboro. But there's another game where I think it's a lot more evenly matched than when you see a number 1 seed versus a number 4 seed. Aiden Grifton's just a grinded out team that by the 4th quarter, they start pulling away from teams.
Yeah.
They've just kind of followed form every year.
Yeah.
And they're that same kind of team this year. And they had a really balanced offense last week where,
Definitely.
4 or 5 guys ran for 75-plus yards. So, it's one of those teams where I don't think anybody wants to face Aiden Grifton. The question is, how do they fare going on the road, going down to Jacksonville?
Exactly. You look at the Goldsboro game, they struggled. That was a big game on the road, and Grifton couldn't win. This is probably a similar situation. But what's your pick there?
Well, this is a tough one. You and I talked about this one off the air. And this may be the toughest one to pick because I think this is as evenly matched up as we will see teams this week. My first thought was go with Southwest Onslow, but the more we talk about it, I think the Chargers go and get a narrow win. I don't think this is going to be a convincing win like we've seen the last couple years in this series when they meet in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I think Aiden Grifton pulls one out. Plus, Aiden Grifton's got a pretty good kicker.
True.
And you never know when that could come into play.
Yeah.
Especially in 1A or 1AA football, as the case is this week. That could be the difference. 3 points could be huge.
That's a good point. That's something you don't think about, obviously. I'm going to go with the Chargers as well in a close game. I mean, I think we're both probably taking an upset, maybe taking a risk going with Aiden Grifton there. I think Southwest Onslow at home is probably the favorite, if there was one, if there was high school football betting lines at all. But Aiden Grifton, I'm going with the Chargers as well. I love what they did last year. I hate to harp on that, but last year they were in this similar type of situation. They made a run to the state playoff game. You got to like that, the coaches, Cornwell, the quarterback's back. He's starting to heat up. Had a good game last week, Brandon Larry. I like what they're doing on offense and defense. I'm going to go with the Chargers as well, and, we'll see how that plays out for us. But there's some intriguing games out there. So you have to get in the car and travel, but travel to one if you can. Grab the paper and check reflector.com, and we might see you next week.